Hey guys, so since it's the month of October, I've decided that I'm going to try to do one horror movie per week. So each week I'm going to watch a horror movie and hopefully get it up by at least like Saturday night throughout the month. And so I decided to make it kind of fair. I would do horror movies I've never seen before, and two horror movies that I love and I want to share with you. Keep an eye out each week throughout the rest of the month for a horror movie that I'm, fingers crossed, going to be putting up. This movie, it's actually called Mimic. And I watched this when I was younger and I love this movie. So when I got the chance, I actually bought all three movies because there's three in the series. I was kind of disappointed when I found out the director of this movie did not like this movie, Del Toro. He actually directed this movie. But as I've learned with just Hollywood in general, when I learned that directors don't like particular movies that they've made, I take that with a grain of salt. Because I was like wondering, was it just like he just didn't like the way it turned out, like decisions he made, or was it experiences on set that ended up affecting his enjoyment of the movie? Sure enough, turned out that he had worked with the Weinstein brothers on this movie, and that was explanation enough for me as to why I did not like this experience. To really give a full feeling of what it was like working on this movie. He actually compared it to his father, Del Toro's father, getting kidnapped for political reasons. And he said that at least his father kidnapping made sense. So that really kind of really shines a light on his experiences with working with the Weinstein brothers, considering how, female women come forward about, the Weinsteins, in particular Harvey. You can that it was probably not good at all. But I still kind of love this movie because it's just kind of nostalgic for me. So, after knowing that, I don't think I've watched this since I've learned that, so I'm interested to see what my feelings are after this watch. So let's get started. It's already a creepy as shit opening.
It's nothing water. We don't believe that it's airborne.
Wait a minute. This is actually based on a short story? Jesus Christ, the number of fucking movies I've watched that ends up being based on a short story or something like that. It just kind of shows you how influential literature has been and, the movie industry, because so often than not they'll, focus on books to adapt to the screen. Just a second, I've turned it down.
I needed you to see this for yourself, Dr. Tyler.
So this apparently targets mainly children. I'd be kind of, I guess, skeptical if not for the fact that with COVID and everything, we're getting diseases that, affect certain age groups more than others. And so after watching this, it seems less ridiculous that we get a disease that is only targeting, or not targeting, but just affects younger children more. So she's wearing a hazmat suit, so either it's for precautions or the disease is only it's only contracted through direct contact with the, I'm assuming, diseased bug. So that's why they were able to go through the child's ward without much protection.
It was deadly. Neither a cure nor a vaccine could be found. We at the CDC had to contain it before it could spread beyond Manhattan Island. So we went after its carrier.
So, New York is where this is taking place.
We recombine termite and mantid DNA to create a biological counteragent. A new species to be our six-legged ally in wiping out the roach population.
So she creates a new species to infiltrate the cockroach population.
We don't even know what the impact is of what we did.
The impact.
Yeah, at least she's smart enough to question what, they did. Good. And I do like how the creatures communicate through, like, clicking and stuff like that. Such great sound effects. Or sound design.
Just imagine that you're one of them.
What, eating furniture and stuff? That's gotta suck.
No. Now, don't judge them too quickly. These guys were building castles while dinosaurs...
I do love how she's teaching them about bugs.
And say you're him. He's what we call a soldier. Now, there is no way that you...
It's also a great way to do exposition. When you're giving all these, like, examples and all this shit, and you know right away that's exactly what's going to happen in a movie. They're literally spelling out the plot.
Speaking of that turd that I took to the lab, I found these in it.
What are they?
Buttons.
So are humans a food source for these creatures since they're so big? They can't survive on, like, rats or something like that. They have to go for creatures that are just as big as them.
Utilization of suicide gene. Leading to a life expectancy of 120 to 180 days.
I do love these, like, more scientific horror movies. I always find them more interesting. Kind of why I also love the X-Files. I think this kind of reminded me a lot of the X-Files. Is probably why I love it so much. Another thing I love about this movie is how atmospheric it is. It's these are just kind of movies I love. The more like the like rainier slash snowier slash darker, I guess, movies. That take place in forest or just in Antarctica, stuff like that. I always love those kind of movies for some reason.
You said the ones we released only had a lifespan of 6 months.
We engineered them to be sterile adults. The Judases were not supposed to last past one generation.
So what happened?
The one I examined
Life
today
finds
is
a way.
This bug, what does it look like?
I do kind of like that it takes place in New York where, just so much like humanity crammed into one place would be the perfect place for these creatures to live. Because we know how, like, cockroaches live in, like, squalor. It's like those rats, New York rats that are, like, huge as fuck. Obviously, they are able to thrive because there's so much humanity and, obviously, food in one place.
Jesus! Fucking moles. Hey, got any change? Get a job, Scad.
You know what's actually fascinating? I read one of the books by the guy who made The Ruin. It's, what was it called? Requiem or something like that. And at the end of the book it talks about how there's actually like an entire like city of like homeless people beneath like large cities like New York. Literally, there's like entire society underneath New York, and he talks about how that's he was actually able to learn more about. He did a lot of research about these this society for his book, and I thought it was just so fascinating. And so that kind of reminds me of this.
But they all died in the lab.
Yes, Susan, but you let them out.
Yeah.
The world.
Lab and the world are two different things.
Do you have the time? Sir, the time?
I absolutely adore. This is kind of why I love this movie. Because we get like this creature that's able to blend in by just looking like a man. By mimicking a man in a trench coat and fedora. How fucking insanely funny is that? And then he just turned out to be a giant flying bug. Does he not have enough arm strength to just lift himself out of the hole?
I dropped what I was doing. Cried to my eyes with red.
Good way of making sure everyone knows where you are.
Oh, Manny, you tell her because she don't give a goddamn.
Hey.
Your kid's
Shut
gone
up.
and my legs chewed
Shut
to the
up,
bone.
William.
And they're both
Shut
talking
the
about
fuck
insects
up.
with lungs.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? She did it to save the kids. And she did. But, yeah, it might have unintended consequences, but are you saying that you would rather they not have saved the kids?
The smell of the blood is driving them crazy!
Oh, shit!
We have to cover the set!
I love how it's kind of implied that these creatures, while simultaneously they might seem smart by being able to mimic humans, they're still like victims of like their like primitive instincts, I guess. So, they are able to communicate through smell and sound, but if you're able to imitate the sounds or the smell, then they're, you can fool them. It just goes back to like they're really just insects that are just bigger and just have more like evolution in a shorter period of time. They're able to evolve to mimic humans, but they're still very much bugs.
This shit can't be sanitary.
Exactly what I was thinking. I'm trying to create a spark. So was the kid not on the track as well? Because I thought he was.
Shut
gonna recognize his shoes, isn't he?
Mountain boots. 10. Brown.
Of course, he conveniently ends up surviving. So that was the end, and obviously, you know, at the very end scene, we kind of get this, like, kind of get flashes where we kind of see this, like, silhouette, I guess, and you're wondering if maybe it's supposed to be the guy, or if that's supposed to indicate that there's still another creature, alive, and, obviously, we see the guy come up, so I'm wondering if that's the reason why they end up having him survive, to kind of have this, oh, well, you know, we think that he's, you know, this creature is still alive, but turns out to be the guy, but really, the creature is still alive. It's kind of, I guess, what is it called? Red herring? I think that's where they tried to make you think one thing, only for it to be another. So, it's funny because I was actually, you know, at my work, I talk to my coworker a lot of times when we're working, we talk about movies, and I was talking to her about this movie because I love horror movies, and I always talk to her about horror movies. She hates horror movies, but she would look at images of, like, the movie that I was talking about, and I end up showing her an image for this movie. And it's a kind of the creature with, it looks like it's a man in a cape or cloak, or a man in a trench jacket wearing a fedora, and she was creeped out by it. And, it's rewatching this after knowing everything I did, I don't really, just movie-wise, have any real problems with it. But once again, I don't know what went on behind the scenes, so... I understand if Del Toro doesn't like this movie, but, just watching it again, I think, like, the first half is the best part, like, the mystery about these creatures, that's the best part, but once they become, it's revealed to be like these, giant insects, it becomes less creepy, I guess. It just becomes like more of like a giant bug movie. I guess I could say just, I'll see the next two movies to see if I feel any different about those two, or if I like those ones better. Because there's quite often I'll like the sequels better than the original. So yeah, that was my reaction to Mimic. And so if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to get notification for all the videos I'll be doing. You guys have a nice night. Stay safe out there. I'll talk to you later. Bye.